It's happening, troops. Nice bright spring morning, eh? Thank fuck, man. Know what I mean? After all that fucking pissing downpour we had a couple of weeks back and that. Know what I mean? It's good to wake up to that, and I think it kind of fills you with, I don't know, oomph, I think. So I've got a class this afternoon, so I wanted to come on and make a video while I was just kind of messing about the house and that. Um, I was at my cratty last night, man, and well, I took my wee boy, and as you probably seen, he got awarded Warrior of the Week. They have a thing every weekend, the junior class where like they award them a certificate like for trying and all that kind of stuff. So the last time we had one of them, believe it or not, was 2021. So I think he was only an orange belt then. So I was so proud of him because just a great kid, and he tries and that, know what I mean? So he's been doing it for a while, and he's never kind of been in a situation, thankfully, where he's had to use it. But I dare say there will come a point in his adulthood where he probably will, and that's the whole point of self defence. It's a bad world out there, know what I mean? And I was one of the kind of people that people who are hanging with self defence would have needed it. I'm talking about like in my early teens and my like early 20s, do you know what I mean? But I'm a grown man now, I'm mature, and I'm not a wee arsehole running about the fucking streets causing it. So that's that. But I ended up going to my class last night, man, and I had to spar like say 3 people after the pad work and all that, and I swear to God, man, I was blown out Mars after the first one, because the first guy I had to spar like a fifth degree black belt, and see try to keep up with him like that, man. Like, I'm not even close to the level this guy's on, not even close, man. But you need, but it's not like they're pure getting in full pelt on you anyway, do you know what I mean? Because you'd be wasted by the time he'd flung the first punch, or the second one at least. But it's all fun and that, so I enjoy it, do you know what I mean? So that's that. See my last live, or one of my last lives, right? Um, it got a fucking copyright claim, and I'm sitting thinking, copyright claim on a live, what's all that about? And I went and checked it, and it's cause there was like fucking Eminem music playing in the background or something. I was like, for fuck's sake, man, what's all that about? But I don't know. It's not as if I'm here to fucking become a millionaire. Know what I mean? Fuck's sake, I've monetised my channel and not even set it up yet. It's like you need to set up like this thing called AdSense and all that, but I've not done that. I just monetised it, and it just builds up. But I'm not really fucking I'm not pure like in a hurry to figure it out. I will do it, but is what it is, innit? Fuck it. But anyway, I don't know if any are familiar with any kind of like Manchester organised crime stories, right? But I remember like ages ago, I think I was in Addiewell or something, and I seen on Sky News about this kind of case, right? And it was a high profile organised crime case, because I realise I've not done any Scottish ones, and it's kind of self explanatory, because you really couldn't. No MD that's been in prison, I think, could they in this country, to me, could they any videos on Scottish organised crime, because a lot of us that have been in maybe LTP, long term prisons, right? Can shut up, fucking Doug. What was I saying there? Aye, so if you've been in a long term prison, there's obviously guys in there that are done with these things and all, and you really can't come out and really speak about them. But obviously, I'm not connected up here either. I just want to point that out. And what I mean by that is I don't know them they do in England, and I can be objective about it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like an interesting thing to talk about, obviously. And the case that I wanted to talk about was actually called the Gooch gang, right? And the reason I wanted to speak about that is because one of the leaders, or their top men, whatever you want to call it, Lee Amos, his name was, his nickname was Cabo. He died in prison just a couple of days ago. Guy was only 48 old, know what I mean? That's no fucking, that's, I'm what, 41, I don't, that's young to be fucking checking out. It didn't say what the cause of death was, but always remembered that case. I think he was convicted in 2009, right? Of like murder charges, attempted murder charges, firearms charges, drug trafficking, the usual kind of shit you see in an organised crime case, know what I mean? But obviously, like a lot of major cities across the UK, across the USA, whatever, there's always organised crime elements, know what I mean? And not even just the UK and the USA, it's fucking everywhere, know what I mean? It's just, there's always that kind of other side, if you get me. And to me, organised crime is a mirror image of government. They're the two sides of the same coin, if you get me. To me, see, government is just organised crime, but legal. They have the law on their side, and I think that's the reason that a lot of people who are associated or involved in organised crime get such high sentences, is because the government are like, who the fuck do you think you are, mate? It's your job to fucking police the streets. Whereas in a lot of cases and in a lot of countries, organised crime people kinda police the scheme, the hood, whatever you want to fucking call it, know what I mean? And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of them get so hammered, because it becomes political at that point, doesn't it? Know what I mean? Because half of the cunts in the scheme would, if they had to, would probably end up, if it came down to a vote between some mad dafty in Westminster or fucking wherever, and voting for somebody in that scheme that's getting things done, obviously there's harm and risk there as well, right? That just, but there's harm and risk there by government. Do you think they don't fucking cause harm and risk and all that? Of course they fucking do, but they get away with it because of the government. But anyway, back to this case. This goes like way back, like to fucking past the early 90s. But obviously, if there's MD doing that way who watches this channel or whatever, feel free to comment and just tell me what you think, or correct any wee details that you think I've got wrong, because obviously I can only go on, I don't know MD connected to this case, so I just thought it was interesting, because I always remembered seeing it on the news and watching a documentary about it, know what I mean? Serious boys, all these sides are serious, not just like me saying, oh, the Gooch were the fucking top boys. I'm just saying everybody in this case is basically a serious bit of work, man. So, I think in the Moss side, South Manchester area, there's been like a few kind of like factions, right? And my understanding was the main ones were the Gooch, I think there was like an original Gooch gang, and then the Doddington boys, right? But obviously when you're seeing shifts in behaviour, and the older ones end up going away or dying or whatever, then the younger ones start kind of starting out and all that. So what they've ended up doing was having like breakaway ones, so it was like young Gooch as opposed to the kind of original one. And the LSC, which was the breakaway faction for the Doddingtons, who I think at the start they actually go on with each other, but in many of these cases there's always a spark in it, and it's usually almost always, the spark is usually almost always violence, some sort of disrespect, perceived disrespect, that if you're in this world and you let that go, then what's the next thing that's going to happen to you, you know what I mean? It's a lot of the same in prison where somebody stole something off you, somebody hit you, and you didn't deal with that on the spot or at the first available opportunity, then it's likely going to cause you issues down the road, you know what I mean? And it's up to you how you handle that, do you know what I mean? But the kind of the Hingbees with the issues with this case was actually, I think it kind of was all like arguing or drug toughs, not because a lot, even the street gangs in like down there are kind of totally different for up here, do you know what I mean? And sometimes it's usually kind of racially segregated, do you know what I mean? Like maybe Afro-Caribbean or whatever, right? And you don't see a lot of that up here, obviously, because we are predominantly white here, but we obviously have our kind of like we're ethnic background gangs, you know what I mean? But you don't hear that much about. Not to say they don't exist, but that's another story in it. But these gangs, the Gooch and the LSC, were basically so long sight crew, right? But they were predominantly like kind of Afro-Caribbean and that, right? Serious boys, man. Like just I believe one of the investigating officers said that the two top men of the Gooch were a boy Piggy, his name was, and Lee Amos, right? And one of the coppers actually said they would shoot you for fun. Do you know what I mean? And I think that could be. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to glamorise this because I'm not. This is fucking serious shit. Know what I mean? Like, I think what he's kind of getting at is if you read between the lines, it's not that they'll shoot you for fun. It's just if you fuck with these guys, man, then you're you're toast. Your fucking dinner's it. Know what I mean? So, but if you've already signed up to that and you're on the opposing team, I dare say you would probably do the exact same, because even though this isn't anywhere near this level, I remember being a wee boy and running through a scheme or a high school and just wouldn't have mattered if it was out in the middle of a street, there's 100 people watching or whatever, you were just doing what you had to do, and at that time it felt good because you had like scored a goal. If you were a football team, you just scored against the opposition, do you know what I mean? And this is the kind of attitudes that are born out of the people who are involved in any sort of organised crime. They all start out, I believe they all start out that way. It all starts out on the street, jumping about with your pals, carrying weapons, taking drugs, getting involved in violence, whatever it is, and it graduates. Some graduate and some don't. Do you know what I mean? Some just grow out it, but these guys certainly didn't. And there was all these kind of. I believe it was the early 2000s, and there was these tit for tat shootings that resulted in Lee Amos's brother, who I believe was a promising football player. Well, he was on the books for Man City, and he had been at a nightclub, and was shot dead, murdered, right? But while this had happened, his brother, the guy who I'm talking about, Lee Amos, right? He was in prison. Him and Piggy, the guy, his name's Colin Joyce, right? So these two are like the leaders of the Gooch, right? Which it's named after a street, because I always used to be like, Gooch, what the fuck's that? I thought it was short for Gucci or the Gucci gang or something. But it was actually named after that, like a kind of notorious kind of street in Moss Side, Gooch Close or something it was called. But I think they changed the name of it because obviously it was that notorious. I think this street just, no, it reminded me, and he's ever seen that American show The Wire? See, when I was like kind of doing a wee bit of research into this is exactly what it reminded me of. The Wire, right? Fucking jailbait, man. But what's happened is Colin Joyce and Lee Amos were arrested in a house, right, for what the police call a substantial amount of firearms. One of them being a Scorpion fucking submachine gun. I don't know if any are kind of wee bit familiar with things like that, but it's basically an Eastern European fucking. It's like I think a Kalashnikov. It's kind of it reminds me of a Kalashnikov, but it's no obviously. But it's about that size, right? And it's got a stock. You can fold all the top of it. You can maybe pull it out and just put it against your arm. But fire's fucking, it's fucking rapid, man. You wouldn't stand a chance if somebody shot you with one of these, if it was, especially if it's up close. Know what I mean? You're fucked. But the police received an anonymous tip that these guys were holding a hostage in a house. And the police went through the door and captured them. There was no hostage, but they were on there with shooters, right, and fuck knows what. So they've got like, I think it was like 9 years, 10 years they got. So like a year into the sentence, Lee Amos's brother, his brother's been shot and killed, right, outside a club somewhere in Manchester. And it must have just set him off, because the kind of the violence that this sparked was just, I think it was an unprecedented level of violence. Do you know what I mean? And when him and Colin Joyce have got out on parole, there's just been this crazy amount of gun crime, resulting in the name that most people know, like in the criminal fraternity, refer to Manchester as Gunchester. Do you know what I mean? And so they've clearly been putting shit into place to try and target the people they thought were guilty of this murder. But there's been other murders leading up to this, do you know what I mean? But this was the one this kind of phase was the one I wanted to talk about, because the guy has just died in prison, so it's kind of current, innit? So when they've got out, they targeted a guy, Yukil Chin, his name was. The guy was young. He was like this was like 2007. The guy was only like 20 odds, man, 24 or something like that. So like, it was like I was about my age at the time, so I think the guy was like ages with me if he was still here, know what I mean? And the CCTV clearly showed that they had him under surveillance, know what I mean? And the motors pulled up next to him and they've just sprayed him, and the guy's died. And I remember seeing an interview with the guy's mum and the guy's sister, man, and the pain on their face was just, it's not a nice feeling when you see it from that angle, do you know what I mean? Regardless of what me and you are doing out in the street, man, do you know what I mean? We're making our families victims as well. I've always said that. I made my family victims when they had to go through court, go through police fucking booting the door in, or dragging me away screaming, whatever it was, right? Because do you know, I think they're no feeling that. They don't want you in the streets. I don't want it for my kid. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't lead, it just leads to misery. Do you know what I mean? But I think sometimes with some people, the deeper they go into this life, obviously shows surely like they must have had it harder than I did, know what I mean? Because or you're just not giving a fuck, know what I mean? But they've killed this guy Yukil Chin, right? And he was obviously, I couldn't confirm whether he was an active member of the Longside crew, but there was, I seen reports saying that he was, but he was trying to distance himself, but I don't know how accurate that was. But it was about 6 weeks later when there was a wake for this guy, right? And while there was a wake, so it's been the guy's funeral wake, right? And while all these people have been at this guy's wake in a house, right? There's been about four of the Gooch mob, right? They've just drove past this house, and sprayed the wake, and there was a guy, Tyrone Gilbert his name was, I think he was like 24. He was due to be a dad for the 4th time, I believe he was hitting the chest, trying to run away, but it's just a reaction, man. If somebody rocked up with a shooter, man, and you had time to run, but you're just hoping that fucking bullet doesn't hit you in it, man. I've never been shot at, but I have had a firearm pulled on me once, apart from that time with the armed response, like only once that's ever happened to me. And I wasn't far away enough to run, you know what I mean? So I just stood there like, what's like thinking to myself, what's happening next, innit? But that's another story. So it just shows you how kind of hell bent on revenge they were. With these tit for tat shootings. Just frightening shit, man, to think you're not even safe at fucking your pal's funeral, know what I mean? Because I'm the type of person that if I was involved in anything like that kind of thing, I wouldn't do anything to anybody that I wouldn't want done to me, right? And what I mean by that is, I wouldn't come to your door, go to your school, go to your mom's funeral and try and kill you, because to me what I'm saying to you is, then it's alright for you to do that to me, and I wouldn't like that. I would just think, where's his main place of business, where's his, like, because you know with a lot of these cases, the main place of business is usually like a pub or something. They all hang about a pub, they all hang about somebody's house somewhere, so if it's all criminals there, then well, I batter in, but I'm not advocating for it. I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who would be doing this sort of thing. Because to be walking out of a funeral wake, man, and getting shot at, it's pretty scary stuff, know what I mean? But obviously there's been heavy fucking police activity down there, I know, because with the amount of shootings and firearms and all that being captured, man, the coppers must have realised, like, we need to fucking do something here. So they would have had all sorts of money flung at them off the what do you call them, the government and all that, do you know what I mean? Because whether you like it or no, know what I mean, like, nobody's just going to sit back and turn a blind eye, well, the law, I mean, know what I mean? Because what if a wee Wayne got hit in the fucking head or something, know what I mean? Like what you've seen in other cities and in the UK, but eventually the Gooch ones, the top ones especially, were on it, and I think it was one of the, it was like the biggest at the time, at least. It was the biggest at the time, at least, right? 2008, 2009, the biggest organised crime investigation in Manchester at the time. But they had to move it to Liverpool Crown Court, far away enough from well, it's not that far away from Manchester, people can travel in it. It's only down the motorway, but it was a major security operation, you know what I mean? You know they don't fuck about down there. They kinda don't fuck about up here, but you don't see a lot of it up here like that. You see it every kind of generation, maybe every 10 years there's like a major organised crime investigation here, but down there I think they kind of, you'd see like a wee guy got to court down there and fucking he's A-catted up with fucking motorcycle outriders, choppers, fucking police motors all in the vans and all that, and you're like, fuck's sake, all that, man, do you know what I mean? But I wanted to kind of, because I found an interesting article, right, in the Manchester Evening News, right, and it kind of gives like kind of background to it, but once they've all went to trial, there was actually I think there was 5 or 6 of the gang actually testified against them. So there's always going to be somebody who will gee you up. Like, this is the case almost all the UK and America with organised crime stuff or drug stuff or whatever. There's always somebody who'll gee you up. It just doesn't want to go to the jail, doesn't want to date anymore. Do you know what I mean? Or fucking has an attack of conscience. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and I'll be the first to say when I was a wee guy, man, I wanted to fucking go and do all this shit, but is it worth it to be sitting in the fucking jail? And there's always somebody that's going to take your place. Always, man, that is a fact. Organised crime's been ways since the fucking dawn of time almost, you know what I mean? There's always somebody. That's the government's whack-a-mole. There's always one pops up, and then after a certain amount of time, both they whack it down, and then another one just pops out another hole, and it's a, maybe the government need it to make themselves fucking look better, or like, do you know what I mean? Because it's just always going to be here ways, do you know what I mean? But it was a 6-month trial, so that would break me. A 6-month trial, got to court every day for 6 months, man. My trial lasted 2 weeks, and that's only because I had 3 co-accused, know what I mean? If it was just me myself, it would have lasted 2 days, fuck's sake, if that. But they were all given heavy sentences, man. Like, we're talking like 30 odd years. Like, I think man get like 39. Lee Amos, and see the interesting thing is, see the jail he was found dead in, it was actually a C-cat prison, so he must have been getting ready to kind of move on to, that's that lizard scratching again, man, fucking murder in it, but aye, he must have been ready to move to open conditions in a few years or something, so on the way out, but it's one of the ones, man, where they try to put something in place, gather some sort of intel where they could just sit and wait and return them to fucking closed conditions, because you're seeing that in a lot of organised crime cases and all. They're just hitting you with what they're calling super ASBOs. You're not allowed more than 300 quid at a time. You're not allowed a mobile phone unless it's given to you by your parole officer, and you're not allowed to associate with known criminals, you're not allowed in this area, and you can't go out after dark, and you're like, fucking hell, man, just send us back, you cunt, innit? Fuck's sake. But one of the things that I kind of noticed was what was it? The interesting thing was that, so Colin Joyce, the two top, one of the other top men, he was given life, so he was convicted of murder. But Amos what was it? So I wait and alright. So Joyce, he was only 29, get jailed for life with a minimum of 39 years. He got more than the Yorkshire Ripper. What was a Yorkshire Ripper done with? What, fucking 13 murders, 15 murders or something? He get 30 year life with it. He was never getting out. But just tells you, doesn't it? But I want to read this article because it kinda does go into the kinda the wider background of this case and all that, and it just shows you how much carnage was being brought to fucking to Manchester by all the kinda the gang violence. Know what I mean? This is like proper gang violence stuff, man. This is just madness. So the heading is "Can't Stop, Won't Stop." The tragedy behind dead Gooch boss Lee Amos's lethal vendetta, and the "Can't Stop, Won't Stop" was a reference to a tattoo Lee Amos had tattooed on him, right? And that was actually inscribed in his brother's gravestone. Do you know what I mean? It was, said the police chief, an exceptional weekend for gun crime. 2 people killed and 4 left injured in 4 shootings across Greater Manchester. The madness began in the evening of Friday, February 15th, 2002, when a 40-year-old man was shot dead in Crumpsall. 2 men were then shot the next evening in Moss Side, and the next day a man and his girlfriend were both injured when a gunman fired into the couple's home in Horwich, Bolton. That's mad. February 15th, 2002, that was when I had just got that gate arrest. No. That was the day after I got appointment in 2002. I made a video about it, and you seen the thumbnail. I'm sitting in a house with a fucking holding a bottle of bucket above my head. It's madness, innit? I always remember where I was, obviously, because the date I went in, the date I went out. It's like the day you're born, the day you die, innit? The final incident was hours later at 1 AM on Monday, February 18th. The aftermath of that would ripple through Manchester streets for years. It was the killing of Stephen Babatunde Amos, aged 21, of Longsight, Manchester, shot outside Beck's Bar in Ashton-under-Lyne. Stephen and a 25-year-old pal were outside the venue in Old Cross Street when they were the victims of a drive-by shooting. Both had earlier attended a family birthday party and had then taken a taxi to the bar, which Stephen knew well. There was an altercation inside and several shots were fired from a handgun while both men were standing at the entrance. Stephen was killed by a single shot to the chest while his friend survived despite being seriously injured. The suspects fled in a stolen Mitsubishi Space Star hatchback taken from Heaton Moor in Stockport. More than 100 people have been leaving the club after last orders when the attack took place. Stephen was a celebrated DJ, making his name in Manchester's Havana Bar and the World Club in Warrington. He has also been on the books of Manchester City as a youth. At the time of the murder, Stephen's mother, Linda Barlow, made an impassioned appeal for help to find her son's killer. Stephen's death has torn our family apart, she said. We are devastated. You know what I mean? That's the thing, there's just all these families left in the wake of all this violence, you know what I mean? It's horrible, man, innit? Detective Superintendent Kevin Duffy said, "We have yet to establish a motive for this murder, and when we do, it will hopefully lead us to those responsible. It is always terribly sad when someone so young is killed, and in this case, so much more so when it is clear that he had such a promising future." The murder had hit Stephen's family hard. This included his brother, Lee Cabo Amos. At the time, Lee was in jail. He and fellow gangster Colin Piggy Joyce had carved fearsome reputations as member of the young Gooch gang. The pair's names kept cropping up murder investigations involving gun crime as they stole drugs and money from other villains. A year before Stephen's murder in 2001, Lee and Joyce were caught when armed police, acting on an anonymous tip that a hostage was being held, raided a house in Moss Side. They didn't find any hostages, but they did find 6 members of the Gooch gang, including Joyce and Lee Amos, and a stash of weapons, including a Scorpion machine gun. Joyce was jailed for 9 years and Amos was also locked up. I'm not sure if you get the same sentence, I think he did, but... Inside, Joyce and Amos plotted revenge for Stephen's murder. When they were finally released on parole, there was a dramatic escalation in gun crime, which culminated in 2 deadly drive-by shootings. Young dad Yuko Chin, 23, was shot dead by Joyce in a daylight ambush at Anson Road, Longsight, in June 2007. Joyce pulled up in an Audi and peppered Yuko's car with 9mm bullets from a converted Russian Baikal self-loading pistol. Yuko was killed because Amos and Joy believe he was a member of the Longsight crew, LSC. Weeks later, Joyce and Amos, along with 3 other senior gang members, Erin Campbell, then 25, of Withington, Ricardo Williams, then 26, of Moston, and Narada Williams, then 28, of Fallowfield, targeted Yuko's wake in a drive-by shooting which claimed the life of Tyrone Gilbert, 24, and injured another man. Tyrone died after a bullet from a revolver hit him in the chest. Tyrone Gilbert was the second young man his family had lost to gun violence. His brother, Marcus Greenidge, had been gunned down in a row between rival gangs, the Longsight crew and the Pitbull crew, 7 years earlier. So this family's lost 2 people to gun crime, know what I mean? It's fucking horrible, man. Gilbert himself had been linked to the Longsight crew following a showdown between the gang and Moss Side's Gooch crew in Manchester Royal Infirmary. But after serving a 20-month sentence for a fray, he tried to build a new life as a family man. So know what I mean? They're even fighting, they're all gone ahead inside a fucking hospital, man. Fucking hell. Lee Amos believed that the Longsight crew a splinter group from the Doddington gang, the arch rivals of the Gooch, were responsible for Stephen's murder, and he was right. In 2003, Richard Solomon, then a 26-year-old member of the Longsight crew from Hume, was convicted of the murder of Stephen Amos and the attempted murder of another man in 2003. The trial judge said the case reflected the chilling reality of the lifestyle of the young in South Manchester. Solomon was given a life sentence for murder and 13 years for attempted murder to run concurrently, and later convicted of a separate charge of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life and sentenced to another 12 years to run concurrently. But the justice provided by the law wasn't enough for Lee Amos, and the time he spent in prison did little to deter him from the gang life. There was nothing to suggest that either Euchel or Tyrone had anything to do with his brother's killing, but Amos was simply out for revenge against anyone who could associate with the LSC. When Amos returned to the streets, he found a vacuum of leadership in South Manchester's Gooch gang. He and Joyce were now no longer the young tearaways, but the older guys who younger gang members tragically looked up to, and they were determined to settle old scores, most particularly with the Longsight crew. The Longsight crew had been set up in the 1990s by Julian Bell in memory of his brother Orville, who had been gunned down at the wheel of his car, aged just 17, by members of the Gooch gang. See, this has all been going on long before all this, know what I mean? The shit I'm talking about, know what I mean? Julian had received £500,000 in compensation after a motorcycle accident left him paralysed from the waist down. Using his wealth, he ruled through a mixture of fear and reward, buying the loyalty and respect of those around him with gems, Rolex watches and bulletproof jackets. He built up an arsenal of weapons including a Mac-10 and an Uzi submachine gun. Rivals and anyone else who stepped out of line were ruthlessly punished. He recruited Richard Solomon to act as his minder, the same man who would go on to kill Lee Amos's brother Stephen. Indeed, for a time, Bell, who was last jailed in 2018 for drug dealing offences in Gloucestershire, was one of the most feared gangsters in Greater Manchester, as the Longsight crew went to war with rival drug dealers in the Pitbull crew, Doddington gang and Gooch gang, with innocents caught in the crossfire. Between 1999 and 2004, at least 26 killings were linked to the four gangs. Fuck me, man. In March 2004, Bell was jailed for 20 years at Manchester Crown Court for conspiracy to supply heroin, conspiracy to possess firearms. He was in jail when Lee Amos and Colin Joyce got out of prison with a determination to rekindle old rivalries, and I guarantee you one thing, and all that continues in jail. It just doesn't stop outside. Like, once you're in there, like, anybody linked to that, if they see the other one, like, it's on sight, innit, man, fuck that. But after the attacks which claimed the lives of Tyrone Gilbert and Euchel Chin, Greater Manchester Police launched what was then its biggest ever organised crime investigation. Detectives began unravelling the Gooch gang from Joyce and Amos at the top right down to the street dealers. Armed with evidence from former gang insiders and an evidential jigsaw of 80,000 mobile phone calls and texts, they were able to end Lee Amos and Colin Joyce's reign of terror. 80,000 phone calls and fucking texts, man, fuck me. In April 2009, following a 6-month trial at Liverpool Crown Court in which 6 former Gooch associates testified against them, Joyce and Amos were convicted of murder, attempted murder and possession of firearms in relation to the deaths of Euchel Chin and Tyrone Gilbert. Joyce, then 29, was jailed for life and told he would serve a minimum of 39 years, while Amos was banged up for 35 years. DC Rod Carter, speaking in 2009, told the Manchester Evening News, "Lee Amos is the Gooch's best weapon. Lee is calm and collected. He has the capability to do what most people would find abhorrent and move on." Tattooed on Lee Amos's arms were the words "can't stop, won't stop." The same words were inscribed on his brother Stephen's gravestone. The tragic, senseless cycle which led to the final period of custody for Lee and his death behind bars at the age of 48 was fuelled by the murder of his brother. G4S has confirmed that Amos passed away at HMP Oakwood and an investigation is underway. A HMP Oakwood spokesperson said, A prisoner at HMP Oakwood, Mr Lee Amos, aged 48, passed away on Monday the 22nd of April 2024. His next of kin have been informed and a family liaison officer has been appointed. As with all deaths in prison, this will be investigated by the Prisons and Probation's Ombudsman. So, there you have it, man, just a fucking pure trail of violence and carnage, do you know what I mean? And the guy's died in prison at the age of 48, like fucking hell. Like, but I don't know about grief and rage, do you know what I mean? But I sorted it out, you know what I mean? But that's just another level of craziness, man, do you know what I mean? But when you're embedded in that culture, do you know what I mean? It's just, you're always trying to outdo the next guy, innit? You're always trying to go one worse. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you punch me once, I'll punch you 20 times, innit? Just that kind of mentality, do you know what I mean? It's just, and it's no good, because obviously, as I says before, I do believe that we make victims out of our own family, unintentionally of course, do you know what I mean? I don't believe I set out to make victims out of my family because I was fucking running about mental, do you know what I mean? But it must have impacted, I know it impacted them in a way, I know it impacted my gran, you know what I mean? But, and my son, you know what I mean? My son was born 2 weeks after I went back to prison, and he was 8 when I got out, so my son spent the first 8 years of his life without me, so committing crime does have an effect on your family, whether you like it or not, you know what I mean? But that was how I wanted to come on and talk about that, because I realised I've not really done a lot of stories like that, and obviously I'm not going to talk about Scottish ones, you know what I mean? Too close to home. But in this one, the guy has just recently died, you know what I mean, a couple of days ago, last week or something, so and I always remembered that case for like when I was in prison, because it was really high profile, you know what I mean? But I dare say there's people like this would never go away. This type of crime never goes away. As I say, there's always somebody there to fill the vacuum, the way Lee Amos and Colin Joyce filled the vacuum for the older ones who maybe went away or died. There's always somebody there coming up when you're about after in the jail or somebody's died. There's always somebody coming up, isn't there? But just hope fucking a lot of the wee guys that I know don't get light into any of this. I don't know. I don't think that level, but obviously ruining their life, innit? Know what I mean? Fuck's sake. But that's that. So fucking, I maybe come on to a live at the weekend, man. I'll make sure I turn my telly on mute so they fucking don't copyright me. Know what I mean? But it was a good laugh. Always is, innit? But yous all take care. Cheers for listening and commenting on my posts and my videos and all that, man. It's appreciated. So I need to go and pick some stuff up for my auntie and then go to my class. So yous all take care, and I'll see yous next time I'm on.